with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For that righteous man dwelling among them, in seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. The Lord, verse 9, knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. So we see here clearly, we may see lots of things happening in the world where it appears that God is not in control, but God is in control. And as my brother shared this morning in the Sabbath school, there is no literal hell today, but there's coming a time after the 1,000 years in heaven with God, there will be, as it were, a judgment of the wicked. The wicked will recognize the wrong that they have done and how they have transgressed God's law, and God will destroy the wicked. And we read in Ezekiel, didn't we, that the work of destruction to God is a strange work. He never created us in order to destroy us. He wants us to live with him through all eternity. And so we need to recognize that God is in full control. We're in the month of Pride, aren't we? And it's interesting. Through the whole month of June, branded logos have changed to rainbow colours. What is that all about, beloved? What is that all about? But you know, oftentimes we may think of the things of the sexual relationships, but do you know what God was really upset with regarding Sodom and Gomorrah? I want you to turn there with me to Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 49. Ezekiel chapter 16 and verse 49. What does the Bible say? Yes, God designed for man and women to marry and to have children. It's a blessing from the Garden of Eden. God has given us the seventh-day Sabbath. That is also a blessing from the Garden of Eden. But God is very clear. In Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 49, what was the iniquity of Sodom? The Bible states the following: Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom. Pride, fullness of bread, abundance of idleness was in her, and in her daughters, neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. I want to ask a question. Where are we in our walk with Christ? Are our hearts full of pride? Are we with fullness of bread to the point of gluttony, keeping it all to ourselves, not helping those who are in need? Is there an abundance of idleness? You remember David? How many successful wars was achieved when he was linked in with God? But then he rested, and then he looked, and he saw a woman, and you know the rest of the story, beloved. Idleness is a killer. What about the poor and needy? Have we strengthened the hands of the poor and needy? Because the poor and needy are our brothers and our sisters. They are our brothers and our sisters to be looked after. These are the things that upset God. Reading from the page 209 of Education. Pride, fullness of bread, and the abundance of idleness are as deadly foes to human progress in this generation as when they led to the destruction of Sodom. Teachers should understand these things and should instruct their pupils in these lines. Teach the students that right living depends on right thinking, and that physical activity is essential to purity of thought. Doesn't the Bible tell us that God placed Adam in the Garden of Eden? His job was to dress the garden. It's important that we're active for God, active for Christ. Let's continue. If we go back to the book of Jude, we're told in verse 7, even Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. There's never been confusion as we've seen in the world today. A minister of parliament cannot define what a male is or a female. Let's just be specific, a woman. They can't define what a woman is. And then we wonder why there is so much confusion in the world. We can see that more and more witchcraft and those who are open about Baphomet worship are becoming more and more blatant. We're seeing it in the music videos. We're seeing it in the commercials. We're seeing it in the products. In fact, there's been certain situations where a brand has openly shared a lot of these very strange clothing, including bondage clothing, and they got so many complaints that they had to reverse their decision. You see, people, if we don't stand up against the evil, people are just going to take advantage. It's up to us to say that these things are not right. The Bible says in verse 9, "Yet Michael, the archangel," or the chief angel, "when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses, does not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, the Lord rebuke thee." Moses had a special resurrection. Jesus came for him and took him from, if you like, Mount Pisgah, took him to heaven. And we know that Moses was used by God, wasn't he? Do you remember the Mount of Transfiguration? Who were the two individuals that were with Jesus? It was Moses and Elijah. They played a very, very important role. It's hard for us to imagine how Moses and Elijah, who are the creation of God, were sent to Jesus Christ to support Jesus Christ in his walk, to encourage him. And we can see that Michael, which means who is like God, is the all-powerful chief. It is Jesus Christ. And you can look at Revelation 12:7 and Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. Christ himself, when contending with Satan about the body of Moses, does not bring against him a railing accusation. Had he done this, he would have placed himself on Satan's ground